Good evening, Wujisha. Good evening to all of you who've joined us this evening to our NLP Masterclass, where we are unpacking the book, The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Self, from an NLP perspective, from an NLP lens, a neuro-linguistic programming lens. So those of you who don't know what NLP is, it stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. And NLP is basically a study that was formulated by modeling excellence, by studying people who were quite good. And it started off in the helping profession with psychologists and psychiatrists. It's now expanded to businessmen, the likes of your Walt Disney, different people, in terms of understanding what is the strategy that they use to achieve predictable results of success and excellence in their lives. And this is something that I practice. This is something that I live by. And I thought maybe we should just really unpack, and I started this journey to really just start looking at books, different books that I read, and just kind of do a masterclass where I review the book and then just reflect on it based on a neurolinguistic programming perspective in terms of how does it relate to neurolinguistic programming. So you don't really have to be a coach for you to be a part of this. This is just simply us also educating you about what neurolinguistic programming is. So if I happen to mention things here that you feel like, oh, hey, I'm quite lost, or I'm not sure what you're actually talking about, Coach Tavi, so please type in the chat, or actually put your hand up. And if you are in a position to have your video on, it is highly advisable that you have a video on, because we will be putting this up as a video so that at least you can ask your question. If you're unable to, then unmute. You can simply just type the question in the chat, and I will definitely read it out and then attempt in answering the question from my perspective. Obviously, if there are concepts that I use, please do not hesitate to ask for clarity on that, so that at least I'm able to also just help you understand. I always say this: if you find yourself in a room where you're the most intelligent person, leave that room. Leave that room, because you're not going to learn, you're not going to grow. So allow yourself to be in spaces where you are able to grow, where you're able to learn, where you are able to become a better version of yourself. And I'm in this space not because I know. I'm in this space because I know I learn from being in spaces like this. So interact, ask questions. I always say to people that I don't learn. There's things that I would not even be able to teach in in this journey if you didn't ask a question. So please ask questions, whatever it is that comes up that you feel like. Sometimes you allow me to go into places that I would not be able to go through the question that you ask. So please do anything that comes up. Let's go for it. For me, in this, I've said already on this journey that I have learned so much more than I did when I read the book by myself. So by simply going on this journey, we've come up with something that is a process that I've now later discovered exists out there to heal people, to help people heal from trauma, to help people. In fact, as a result of this, there's a process that I was able to use to help a client of mine heal from trauma, just from this. So please do, and whatever your perspective is from reading the chapter, those of you who are able to read the chapter before, please do that, and then bring it in. So just as a reflection in terms of what we've covered so far on this journey, we started off with chapter one, and chapter one speaks about the voice inside. That's where we are introduced to the fact that in this journey of becoming aware of who you are, the first thing to be aware of is that you have an inner voice. So we're introduced to this inner voice, and this inner voice that we have are those thoughts. It's that voice that keeps on talking inside of you. Hey, what about this? What do you think about that? Hey, why is everyone else switched off their video? Maybe I should also switch off my video. Hey, but no. Hey, but no. What are people gonna say if I switch off? But I'm not in a position to have my video on. That voice is talking in the back of you all the time. Okay. Oh no, this would have been nice if I was, for those of you who are watching the record, if I was there live. Oh, maybe it won't be as valuable because I'm now only watching the recording. Bujisha. Bujisha is the concept of ask questions. It just simply means ask. But when you ask questions, you allow yourself to learn and become aware of things that you're not aware of. You allow your mind to be able to think of concepts. So when I use the concept Vujisha, I'm simply just saying, allow yourself to just simply become aware, Vujisha, of things that you are not aware of. But it's also something that becomes a bit of a humor that we throw in here and there. So we have this inner voice that is constantly talking, constantly narrating, constantly. It's almost like you have what do you call these guys that a commentator of your life, commentator of everything that you're constantly being exposed to on a daily basis. That's chapter one. So we become aware of this inner voice that's inside of us. That's constantly yapping about everything. And it's neither right nor wrong. And even when it's wrong, it doesn't come and say, oh, I was wrong there. Bujisha. No, it just keeps on yapping. All right. Then we're introduced to chapter 2 to the concept of that this voice is not just a voice. We actually have inner roommates that exist inside of ourselves. Bujisha. We have an inner roommate. So it's a whole human being that lives inside of us, that is commenting, constantly narrating. So it's not just the voice now, there's these inner roommates. Some of us, these inner roommates are other people. Some of us, these inner roommates are younger versions of ourselves. Some of us, these inner roommates are people we looked up to at a certain time in our lives. So that's where in chapter 2, we are introduced to the concept that we have inner roommates that live within us. And these roommates constantly commenting on the things that we do, whether we do them, whether we don't. And these inner roommates can influence us to do certain things or not to do certain things. Chapter 3, we're introduced to the concept of who you are, who you truly are. And one thing we've realized is in chapter 1, we often think that inner voice is our voice. We confuse that inner voice that talks and narrates sometimes as our voice. We realize in chapter 2 that no, there's an inner roommate. And this inner roommate is a younger version of ourselves, that young, unhealed version of ourselves, that younger version of ourselves that, due to a high intensity emotional experience, got stuck and keeps on showing up in different things. Or that version of yourself that came from other people who said things that created high emotion that keep on narrating in your life. Butish. So chapter 3 then says, who are you? It says, you are neither any of those roommates, nor are you that voice. It takes us even further to say, there is the you that is observing that voice, that inner roommate. You are not even that you that is observing that inner roommate. Takes us even beyond that to saying that you are awareness. We are not introduced to the concept that we have the ability to be in different places at once. That the fact that I'm able to see beyond and see as far into the sky, as far as the stars, the fact that I can hear things outside of I think the last time I was presenting, I was able to hear a flight passing by. I can hear my son in the other room. I can hear a car passing by out there in the street. I'm aware of those things. I'm also aware of what is happening in my mind right now as I'm presenting. I'm aware of what is happening in my body. So I can be inside of my body and outside of my body at the same time. Chapter 2 introduces us that we are aware of everything that we are aware of, above us, below us, in front of us, behind us. Everything that we are aware of is who we are. Everything that we are conscious of. So, in essence, we are consciousness. I think it's beautifully defined in where, Michael Singer takes us to the concept where he says, if you were to switch off, you can switch off what you are thinking about, you can switch off what you hear, and you will still exist. But the moment you switch off that you that is aware of everything, we cease to exist. So, chapter 3, we're introduced to the fact that we are consciousness. We are awareness, everything that we are aware of, inside of you and outside of you. But also, the awareness that you are cannot be limited by time, because you can go all the way into the past and go all the way into the future while you are still here at the same time. And for me, that kind of brought a new meaning to omnipresent and being made in the image of my higher power. Now, chapter 4, we are introduced to the concept of the lucid self. And maybe if I can just take an opportunity to maybe just reflect as how we got through there. So we made you aware of your inner voice in chapter 1, made you aware this inner voice is constantly, so become aware of it. And then there's an inner roommate. Then we're able to realize that in our experiences of life, there are certain feelings that we experience, certain thoughts that we think. And our inner roommate sometimes is the one that is responsible for those thoughts and those feelings. We're able to identify that those feelings and those thoughts belong to our inner roommate. They are not actually ours. The fact that we're able to notice them means that they're not ours. And then we went into differentiating between those things so that you're able to notice the feeling and that it belongs to this. But then when you observe them from the awareness that you are, we're able to actually realize that those thoughts, those feelings that you might at one point have thought are unresourceful, people were able to have an experience of allowing them to really just become a part of you, which is what they are. Many of us become lost in these experiences because we think our thoughts are who we are. We think our feelings are who we are. We think our experiences are who we are. Chapter 4 then introduces us to the lucid self. And the lucid self comes from the concept of a lucid dream. I think it's explained nicely in the book to say a lucid dream is when, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, when you're having that dream and you're aware that you are dreaming. No, you're aware that you are dreaming. You're able to be aware. Not that dream where you feel like, hey, here I feel like I'm inside deep within, and I'm drowning. Hey, you come up or whatever. That's a different dream. So a lucid dream is when you're aware that, hey, I'm dreaming. And I think that becomes a fun dream because then you're able to say, hey, no, here in this situation, hey, because I'm dreaming. Hey, let me do this. Oh, you can have fun in that dream. But when you find yourself in a dream where it's not lucid, you feel like you're inside. This now introduces us to the concept of association and dissociation in NLP. Remember, we're looking at this from an NLP lens. So association and dissociation. When you are associated, just for those of you who might not understand what that means, when you're associated in an event, you are inside of your body and you're looking at everything through your eyes. So if you are associated in a dream, You are inside of your body and you are looking through your eyes. The feelings are more intense. You are inside that dream. You are inside that movie or that dream. And inside of your body, buchisha. So whatever you see, that's what it becomes more intense, more scary, and so forth. But then when you are dissociated, you are able to see yourself in the dream. That's where you're able, it's almost like you're watching a movie of your dream. Does that make sense? So you're able to see yourself in the dream having that experience. So it's almost like watching a movie of yourself. That's when you're dissociated. So I'm able to see my body over there. I'm able to see Tabiso over there experiencing whatever it is that he's experiencing. Make sense? In NLP, we use this concept of dissociating to help people heal from trauma, to help people go and get different perspectives on an experience that they've had. Some people have actually used this without learning NLP as a coping mechanism. You hear people say, it's almost as if I just stepped out of myself. I had someone say, in my dad's funeral, it's almost like I was watching a movie of myself at that funeral. And it helps. It helps to really remove yourself from feeling the intensity of that particular experience. So, don't allow this event to consume you. And that's the concept of the lucid dream. I love how Michael in this context says, become aware of the fact that you are aware. Okay? Being aware that you are aware instead of getting lost in it. Bujisha. So many of us get lost in the movies of our lives. So many of us get immersed into the thoughts that we're thinking. We get immersed and we get lost into the feelings that we are feeling. And we get caught up in it. We get introduced to the concept. I don't know, those of you who watch movies, or, I always give this example that, that's why right now, many of us don't like watching soccer. Those of us, I say many of us because Kaizer Chiefs is one of the biggest teams in Africa. So many of us are supporters of Kaizer Chiefs. So many of us don't like watching Chiefs because now when you're watching, you are inside the TV and you are playing better than the players. What? So right now it's like me going now and choosing to go and watch a game where now I'm performing poorly and I leave and I'm frustrated with myself. Because while I'm watching, I'm inside there, I'm on the field, I'm even playing better than those players. And that's why I'm able to be frustrated with myself because I'm like, hey, Shakura, hey, shit. It's so funny. I mean, watching my dad, you even see sometimes even moving his body or hey. Why? We are inside there. In that moment, we are not our lucid self. We are not aware that we are now inside there. That's why you end up even finding yourself Wujisha, getting carried away in it. So you're not your lucid. You're not aware that you are aware. You've gotten caught up in the movie. Okay? But that's part of what makes movies so pleasurable. Getting caught up in there. And sometimes it's simply just a matter of the visual and the auditory. And I love how, Michael Elsinger in here kind of introduces us to say, have you noticed how difficult it is to kind of get consumed in a movie like that when you see the sound and the picture mismatching? So when the sound of the picture of the movie mismatches, like, hello, so now so you now become conscious of the fact that I'm aware that the sound of this. So now you become aware of the fact that you're watching a movie and this movie is not synchronized. So once the sound and the picture are synchronized, we then Start getting more immersed. Then it takes it a bit further to say, now imagine the sound, okay? All your senses were then stimulated. In NLP, when all our senses are stimulated, we call this stimulation VACOG. So we receive information through our five senses, and the five senses are visual, what we see, auditory, what we hear, kinesthetic, what we feel, olfactory, what we smell, and gustatory. Imagine being in a movie, where this movie, you can smell everything that is there. Or somebody says, yeah, I'm about to go and propose. You can feel the feelings. Or when the players are now walking onto the pitch, you can feel the anxiety that they feel on their body. And whatever it is that you're watching, you can feel it, you can smell. If there's food, you can even taste it. You would not even be able to become aware that you are inside this movie. We then get introduced to the concept of that many of us get consumed in movies and we're able to step out of those movies. But that movie is our life. So many of us have gotten caught up into the movies of our lives, into the movies of other people's lives, into the different thoughts, into the different feelings. You get so caught up in that feeling. You create a movie in your head and you get caught up in that movie and you make that movie the rest of your life. And you live in that movie. And not once do you become aware of the fact that you are alive in this movie. You are no longer living your life. You're simply just showing up in this movie. We're introduced to the fact that consciousness can focus on something and focus on something else. Can focus on one thing or focus on a whole group of things. You can simply just allow yourself to zoom out of this movie. Now, are you aware that you are aware of the life that you are living? Or are you simply just caught up in this life? Are you simply just caught up in these thoughts and these feelings and not even aware that you are aware of the you that is thinking those thoughts? You are aware of the you that is feeling those feelings. You are aware. So you are observing all of this. Have you gotten so sucked in that you have become a lost soul? I love what Michael A. Singer made I think a message here. He says, the lost soul is the consciousness that is dropped into a place where sensory stimuli are all synchronized. You perceive yourself as those objects. Some of us don't even know the difference between this movie that we're watching and our thoughts. We are just lost souls because our awareness is lost. In NLP, we have a concept called selective focus. We call it deletion in NLP. Deletion, bujisha, 100%. Which mentioned there with PTSD, you are lost in the trauma. So you get lost in the trauma, you get stuck in the trauma, and even though you're not experiencing it, you start showing up in life looking for proof that that trauma may happen again. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Now, you constantly are living a life where that young version of you that experienced the trauma is the determinant of the thoughts that you're thinking. It's telling you, yeah, no, this might happen. And whatever looks similar, whatever looks like it might be a hint, whatever smells like it might be similar, it says, it's coming, it's going to happen again. Be careful. What? You start living, avoiding from that. You start living a life of that version of yourself that experienced that trauma. Are you aware? Become aware that there's that young version of you that experienced this trauma. Who's the one that is narrating, talking to you? Are you aware of how to listen to those thoughts as not your thoughts, as not who you are, but as thoughts of the younger version of you? Are you aware of who you are? So many of us project the things. We project the things in our thoughts, the things in our feelings, the things that happen to us out into the world, because that is the projector that we are looking through. That has become how we look through the world. But this becoming aware that you are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings, those are just objects. You are not your inner roommate as well. It's just a version of you, a part of you. Just like your finger is a part of you. Does that make sense? Like I said, I will share my interpretation of this, and I will then go into a practice. I mean, where we're able to come up with a practice in terms of from what I've taken out of this, how can we actually bring it home? How can we bring it home to kind of real life? You know, where we are now bringing in the concept of dissociation, the concept of the inner voice, the concept of what we're discovering through this process. And at least with this one, the nice thing is that we are. So in the last session, we were able to take into consideration an unresourceful feeling that you might be feeling as a result of this inner voice. And this unresourceful feeling is linked to a version of you. Then identify who is aware of that feeling. And then we went into discovering who is the you that is aware of that inner roommate that is experiencing this feeling. Okay? So now we are just going to take it a few steps further. We are now going to then dissociate and just discover what happens when we actually just dissociate from the different versions of yourself that are observing. So you can actually get to the true seat, the true seat of consciousness. Because in NLP, we know that when we dissociate from this version of ourselves, we associate into another version. When we dissociate for this version, we associate into another version. When we associate and dissociate from that version and dissociate into another version, we associate into another. So when we dissociate, how many movies could you be caught up in? Because I might be watching a movie, I get caught up in this movie, of that me inside that movie that's watching another movie, that me inside that movie that's watching another movie, and I don't even know who I am. How do you go back to that seat of consciousness that is aware of the you, that is aware of everything? How do we zoom out and just become aware of the whole? So to get into that, I'd love to have a volunteer. So we play around with it. Then I'll open up for questions. If there are any questions already, you may please, if you're able to have your camera on, turn it on, ask your question. And may I have a volunteer who has an unresourceful feeling that you're feeling currently, that you feel like, there's this feeling that kind of, that we can really just maybe play around with this to see what happens when we get you to tap into the awareness that you are. Not all at once. So this is quite nice when you have a volunteer, somebody who's able to have their video on. Welcome, Tabiso.
Hello, my coach.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Just waiting for a volunteer. So anyone who's willing to volunteer. It doesn't have to be an unresourceful feeling, by the way. We could even do it. But anyone else who's watching, as I take whoever through any process, guys, just any feeling. It could even be a feeling of tension. Could have been be a feeling of pain. And I think that's the beauty with this. I did it. I had a headache over the weekend, and I was able to get to a point where the pain associated with the headache was able to just really just dissolve. And I thought that was, so I live by the principles of NLP, and one of the behavioral frames of NLP says adopt a behavioral frame of flexibility and experimentation. Just be willing, curiosity and fascination. Just be willing. Okay. I'm annoyed. I think this is yeah. So a feeling of annoyance that can work. That definitely would work.
All right.
Are you
I
able to have
can
your video on?
volunteer.
Come on, Wesley.
I can, I can volunteer then.
Beautiful.
I have to sit somewhere where the light is not behind me.
Oh yes. Oh yes, please. Thank you so much.
Uh, Give me 2 seconds.
Not a problem.
There we go.
Dr. Mongezi Makalima.
How are you, my man?
I'm great. I'm blessed. I am blessed. Thank you for joining. And yeah, thank you for volunteering to give us an opportunity to play around with this stuff and just see. The nice thing is we just play around with the stuff and see what we become aware of, what you become aware of. And like I said, as I'm going through this process with Dr. Mongezi, um, go through it yourself and see what you become aware of. The process will be different. You will become aware of whatever is unique to you. So try and make this as personal as you can for yourself. However, obviously, as I'm working through with Dr. Mongezi, we are going to just make it unique to what this annoyance is. So you said you've got to, I'm going to be making a few notes here so I'm able to just follow on the different cells that do come up. So what I kind of gathered there is you've got this feeling of annoyance. So remember we said we are awareness. So you are aware that there's a feeling of awareness somewhere in your body. All right. And where in
Yep.
your body are you feeling this feeling of awareness, of annoyance?
On my shoulders. Maybe between my shoulders and my ears.
Okay, so between your shoulders and your ears.
Yeah, that
All
area there.
right. So between shoulders and ears. And I'm just curious, with this feeling that you are feeling between your shoulders, is it a specific shape between your shoulders and your ears? Is it a specific shape, or color, or
Hmm.
sensation?
Hmm. Um, it feels like an unfriendly hug. When somebody is hugging you, acting like they like you, but they really don't, type of a thing. That's what it
Okay.
feels
So
like.
hey, that's a difficult one. So an unfriendly hug, help me understand. What does that an unfriendly hug kind of feel like? Is it hard? Is it
It's gentle to the touch, but there's an energy about it that feels vicious.
okay? And that
So I
vicious
don't know how to
energy,
describe it. Yeah, but it feels yeah, it feels malicious.
okay? And this vicious energy, for you to say it's vicious, is it hot, cold? Let's just get into the sensations there.
It's relatively warm.
It's relatively warm.
Yeah.
All right. And is it a specific color?
Mm. fawn, like going to yellow, white going to yellow.
So white going to yellow, kind of like looking like fawn. Okay. So it's warm, it's kind of warm, white going to yellow, fawnish color. And is it rough, smooth?
Smooth,
It's
smooth.
smooth. Okay. Is it a particular shape?
Mm, yeah, it, like a tube. It's shaped like a tube. You know, like
Like a
those.
tube.
Yeah, like those dogs that you put under the door. It's shaped like that. It's like
Ah, oh yes,
yeah,
oh yes. Thank you for
yeah.
that. Okay. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. So we kind of now gotten a sense of this annoyance and what it feels like, what it looks like. That's between your shoulder and ears. And I want you to just now that we've kind of gotten what it is, for you to just say to me, I am aware of this feeling between the feeling of annoyance between my shoulders and ears. And
I
notice
am
where
aware. I'm aware of this feeling between my shoulders and my ears.
and just notice where's the I, where's the you that is noticing this feeling between.
Well,
Could be
so
in the
far,
part of your body or outside of your body, wherever. Where's the I?
so far, I'm inside my body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when the feeling is here, I am here somewhere. So far, yeah.
So inside you. So when you say here somewhere, where exactly is here? Is
So
it in?
I'm I'm inside. So I'm not looking at it from outside of me. That's what I mean. I'm looking at it. I'm immersed in it. I am
Okay.
enveloped by it.
All right. And this you that is aware, this you that is enveloped by it, how does this you look like? How would you describe
Small.
this? Small.
Mm. It's me, but the feeling feels bigger than me. So I feel like that small character there. And then this thing is kind of like enveloping me.
Okay. And the small you that's enveloped by the by this, are they a particular age? Does it say to you?
No, it's like actually exactly the same age as I am now,
Beautiful. Thank
but
you.
much smaller than I am.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want you to just say, are there any feelings maybe associated with this you that's much smaller than you are, that's enveloped by this?
Mm. Um, I don't want to use the word confused. It's more stunned, yes.
Fun.
Like surprised. Yeah, surprised, um, overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Thank you, Dr. Mangezi. And I want you to just say, I'm aware of this smaller me inside of my body that is feeling stunned, surprised, and overwhelmed. And notice where's the I or the you that is aware of.
Mm. Yeah, I'm aware of this stunned, overwhelmed me. But now I'm looking at it from outside of myself now. I'm
Mhm.
looking at it from the top, looking at me. I'm looking at myself being stunned and overwhelmed. So it's almost like there's two me's now.
Mhm. And this you is kind of like from on top, so above your head.
Yeah. Yeah. Observer, almost godlike. if that makes sense.
100%. 100%. Almost godlike above you. Okay. And what's the size of this almost godlike? When you say almost godlike, is that what's the
Big,
size of
big, big,
this you?
big, 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 even bigger than me, actually. It's almost like, yeah, like twice my size, looking over myself and looking into this small version that's around my throat. Because actually, it feels like it's just standing there on my throat.
And are there any feelings associated with this godlike you that's outside of you, kind of looking twice your size, looking at you? What are the feelings associated with this you?
Mm. In control, maybe, or not even in control, but more like bigger, bigger than this thing. Um, Calm, distant, removed. Those are some of the words I could use.
Calm, distant, bigger,
Unbothered by it,
moved,
much more curious. Yeah, much more curious.
unbothered, much more curious. Thank you for that. Beautiful. Now, now that we've kind of got you to be removed from this event, I think now you are aware. We've just allowed you to dissociate into your lucid self, the lucid you, which is aware of the you that is enveloped by this event. So now you're aware. You are no longer consumed by this. You're not aware of the you that is inside of your body that is enveloped by this tube. And your lucid self is not who you are. Your lucid self is just a part of you. This God like you is just a part of you. You are way bigger than that. You have no limitations above you.
Mm.
In the way that you can imagine going as high up, in the way that you can imagine yourself going into space, you have no limitations below you. You have no limitations in front of you, as far as you can see. You don't get to a point where you say, "No, I can see until this point. After here, I can't see." There's no boundary to how far you can see. There's no boundary to how far you can hear. You can't say, "No, I can hear until this point, and if I go to that side, I can't hear." There's no boundary. It's almost like it's limitless. And
Mm.
that's awareness that you are. You can feel inside of your body the feelings that you're feeling, the way that you're able to describe them to me, the sensations. That's who you are. It's inside of you and outside of you, in front of you, behind you, to your left, to your right. Now, I want you to just connect to the awareness that you are and
Yeah.
allow yourself to just simply be expansive and take a deep breath in and out through your mouth, connecting to the limitless you above you, below you, in front of you, behind you, to your left, to your right, and looking at the godlike you, observing them, and just allow them to relax and open up inside so they can become a part of you. Just allow them to relax to become a part of you, both inside of you and outside of you, and just notice what happens.
I can see I'm no longer annoyed, right? I'm actually smiling.
And I'm just curious, when you allow the godlike you to simply become a part of you, inside and outside of you, what happens?
Well, mm, it doesn't matter. Like it's like it doesn't matter. You just notice, right? You just see. You're not attached to the feelings. It's like watching a child uh, crying and then realizing that, well, children cry, it's okay, but it's not a big deal.
Beautiful, beautiful. Was there any change in how the God like you looks like now? What happens? Did anything change in terms of how they look or the shape that you saw?
Very far. It's like I'm like I can't even see actually. It's like I'm just feeling the energy, like a ring of energy that keeps going. Like you see when I do my hand,
Yeah,
yeah, it feels like that.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Ring of energy. Okay. And now just taking that same thing, we're simply just going to do, because some of the things, like you mentioned, the anointing is gone. It might still be there unconsciously. And we just really just want to just explore this. And now connecting back to the conscious that you are, the awareness that you are above you, below you, in front of you, behind you, to your left, to your right. Notice what happens to that you inside of you that is enveloped by this tube, and allow them. Just allow them to just relax and open up inside and become a part of you. The awareness that you are inside and outside of you at the same time. Notice what happens to those feelings of overwhelm.
I'm good now, man. I'm calm.
Beautiful. Did anything happen to that small
It's,
you?
it's disappeared, actually.
Small you disappeared.
It's gone. Felt like there was a bone that was sitting there, but it's gone.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And going to that feeling of annoyance, I know you said it's gone. If maybe it's still there, if that tube may be there unconsciously, and just taking the awareness that you are to just really go into that tube that was sitting around your neck, between your shoulders and your ears, with that energy that was there, just allowing it to just, even at an unconscious level, to just open up and relax and dissolve into the awareness that you are, that exists
Yeah.
inside of you and outside of you. And
Yeah.
notice what changes happen.
I'm good. I'm
Beautiful,
good. Yeah.
beautiful. What
Thank
was your
you.
experience there?
Say again.
How would you say, what was your experience and what is it that you've become aware of as a result of?
No, I think it's just the idea that we get so fixated in that small thing and then it becomes so big, right? But then when you step out and realize the extended consciousness, uh, this is the thing you're worried about, and then but after a while, it's not even a conversation about this is the thing you're worried about. It's like it doesn't matter. I think the phrase I'm using is the stars. The stars are so many, and you're just worried about this like one little one eye. How cut it wrong. So thank you. I'm
Thank you
glad I
so
did
much.
this.
Thank you so much for volunteering. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no, my pleasure, man.
And now to remove spotlights. Great. Thank you very much. So, just to reflect on that, by the way, I will open up to any questions that are there in terms of what we're doing. So, to reflect on what we did there with Dr. Mongezi, is we started off with the feeling. We could have started off with the thought, whatever it is that you might have allowed yourself to become fixated on. And I think he lands it beautifully where he says this: when you become aware of your lucid self, you move from being fixated to being non-finite. Being non-finite means that you don't become defined by anything. Nothing defines you. Nothing holds you. And as you can see, we did this without content. I didn't even have to unpack what it is that was causing the tension with Dr. Mongezi. And that's what I love about this process as we are unfolding. When we start becoming aware of who we truly are, so many of us have gotten lost. So firstly, I get him to associate, okay? And I make him become aware that, hey, instead of you visiting and then confusing yourself whether you are inside this feeling or inside this, let's go to the feeling and let's get you to associate with it by asking him to describe it. So he had to really go into the feeling for him to kind of get the sensation, the texture, Pujisha. And then we dissociate it into the inner roommate. That's chapter 2. That is observing this. Okay? Then we dissociated from who is observing the inner roommate. Okay? And that becomes the lucid self. Then we dissociated from the lucid self into the awareness that you are. And when you become the awareness that you are, all of that simply becomes insignificant because it simply just becomes a part of you. It's a part of you. And I loved what Dr. Mongezi said. He said, when I associate into the awareness that I am, I start becoming curious. And I think even when he became, I think it's also in the lucid self. Just the moment he became aware that he was aware, he started becoming curious, became unbothered. And those of you who might have followed, you might have had a different experience. And that's the beauty with this. It respects the laws of NLP. That life is just a subjective experience. Your life is just your own subjective experience because we can all have the same experience, but my experience will be unique to me. Your experience is simply unique to you. Are there any questions? And this is where, I mean, if you, I really love the analogy that came up, that ring of energy, which is a beautiful introduction into where we are moving into now in chapter 5. Because the first 4 chapters were the journey of conscious awareness, the journey of becoming aware of who you are. And you are simply consciousness. You are the you that is aware of everything that is happening around you. Are there any questions? Comments? Your experiences, if you manage to have an experience? And your own interpretations. This is where I love to open to the floor because I'm not saying my interpretations are my true or the right or the truth. That's the whole point of this. We all grow together from you sharing. What if the feeling that was physical moves from chest to neck? Yes, it can move. It can move, and that's simply because, remember, it was a physical experience, maybe moves to the neck because of the different roommates that you went into. And by the way, we can move from the one roommate to the other. And when that feeling is in the neck, we simply just allow that feeling. When we come back from the awareness that we are, we actually go through the different roommates so that any of them that might have felt neglected are actually able to just become and associate into the you. But even if that feeling has moved to the neck, we go to the neck to just allow it. And maybe something that I probably might have needed to ask in there would be, I mean, with these processes, it's important for you to give yourself permission. It's important for you to give yourself permission to actually heal, because maybe that feeling is not something that you're willing to actually acknowledge. But it's important for you to give yourself permission to allow this to just simply become aware of you. And that's where it dissolves and simply becomes a part of you. Because nothing, no feeling, no thought comes into your life to harm you. It simply comes in to make you aware of something. And sometimes we get caught up in what it was trying to make us aware of. And when you get caught up in it, we're unable to learn and we start judging it. You are more than your feelings, you're more than your thoughts. remove yourself so you can learn from your experiences. Coach Ayanda.
Thank you, my coach. Such a beautiful experience. So it's just a comment to say I think today I just came across uh, uh, information that says, we come across, as people, we come across so much information. We read books, we come across different personalities, and at the end of the day, with all this expansive knowledge, we need to come back to say, then who am I as an individual? So that, because if you then allow yourself to be consumed by all this information, you get to a point where you lose yourself. And so much so that you I love the comment that the note that Coach Bitumelo said, that then you live into some kind of an illness, like a schizophrenic environment, where you are just influenced by a whole lot of information. At the end of the day, you need to then come back to who you are. Yes, I'm aware of this information. I am aware of this personality. I am aware of all of this. But when you bring it home, who am I? So I just loved the process, that at the end of the day, it solidifies who you are as an individual. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. It really does. It really does. In chapter 4, Michael puts in there, he says, you are the answer, be the answer, and everything will change. You can only be the answer when you become aware of your lucid self. When you become aware that you are aware. And you're absolutely right. Some of us now get consumed by the information that we take on. Some of us get consumed by our titles. Some of us, when we get lost in those things, and those things, they don't define us. We close the chapter where he says, you are not even the human being that you think you are. You just happen to be watching that human being. It's almost like you've been given the task to watch this human being. And sometimes you get caught up in the experiences that human being is. You are infinite. You are more expensive than that. Now, when we hear that we are spiritual beings having this experience, we understand. And I think this gives us just a beautiful experience of that. Wow. Vujisha. I love that. What Deepak Chopra said to Dr. Mongesi. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. I take that as a compliment. Whether you meant it as one or not, Vujisha, I'm going to take it as a compliment. But if there are no questions or comments, I will end this evening's session of, yes, Coach Witumelo.
My lighting is not very good, so my video will just be black. So
Okay,
if I can go on, is it fine?
no problem.
Okay. So I just wanted to get further clarity on the one where it moved to another body part. So it doesn't have to do it immediately. It can even be after a day or whenever.
And I'm just curious, when you say when it moves to a different part of your body, are you talking on what maybe we might have done last week?
Today.
Okay. So if it happens to move into a different part of your body, is it still associated with the same inner roommate, or is it a different inner roommate? Because sometimes a different feeling might move somewhere else because it's a different inner roommate. different feeling, different experience. Hence, I say every experience. I mean, I'll share when I worked with the client. Every experience is quite different, and I'm sure even those of you, if you remember, Coach Zukile's experience, it was quite different because the him that was observing the feeling was a fist with it was a fist with an angry devil, and the you that was observing the you was remember, if you remember, the tent. So everyone's experience will be unique. And when I worked with somebody else, that's why I also just check the ages. There's different age. Some people, they'll say the feeling is linked to a 6-year-old me, and then the me that's watching the 6-year-old me is the 8-year-old me, and then the me that's watching the 8-year-old me is the 24-year-old me. So what I go with where the client goes. So if when we come back, when we come back and we go through, the feeling is no longer in the chest, it's no longer in the chest, it's now in the neck, then we'll go into that because that might be linked, and just allow that feeling to really just open and relax and become part of you. And just doing that, and I'll share this maybe. So when I did it with a headache that I had, it's almost like my headache had different layers. So when I worked with this part of the headache, it kind of went away. But and I didn't think, oh no, the headache moved because now I'm feeling it here. I just thought, oh, this is just another part of the headache that I've now become aware of. And I went to this part of the headache, and then it kind of felt like it was up here. And then I worked with this part of the headache and then it felt like it was down there. I went to that part of the headache until I completely felt like all parts of the headache were completely gone. So maybe in answering your question to be more relevant, it might be that this is the same part of the feeling, just a different part of the feeling that you're experiencing. It's just that you were not aware of it because you were fixated in one. And now that you've now allowed this one to expand, this other one is now saying, hey, you forgot about me. That's my own interpretation. I hope that answers you. Does that answer you?
It does, it does. Okay, and moving on from that, there was another point that I just wanted to hear just your view on it from the chapter where it spoke about that. Okay, it won't be verbatim, but I'll say it how I remember it, where currently you know your level or your threshold of joy that you've experienced in life, threshold of pain, threshold of fear, so or anything that you've ever been exposed to. It's like even when something is about to happen, you can already in your mind, or your sensations know that they've only come to this. It's like your normal, your comfort of either positive or negative emotion. So I don't know how you interpreted that, in terms of when so I don't know. For me, I was looking at it like maybe is that maybe part of why when you go into something new, um, it's like a rug has been pulled under your feet. I don't know. Like it was just interesting for me because it didn't only relate to positive things, emotions, but it also related to my fears and all that. Like it becomes your normal, the level of fear that I've ever experienced in your life. I don't know your interpretation of that or how you would elaborate on that.
So my own interpretation of that, and I'm just curious, maybe just share with me there if it is in this chapter or in previous chapters or in chapters ahead. So I stick to the topic. And maybe just share there.
It's in this chapter. It's in this
Okay.
chapter, very early pages of the chapter. Very early pages, yeah.
So I think if I remember correctly, the area where you're speaking about, he says that we are aware of what is happening in our mind. We're aware of our thoughts in the same way that we are aware of the house that we live in. Okay. And we think the thoughts that we think on a daily because they're just past versions of ourselves. The inner roommate is just the past version of ourselves. And whenever, so all these experiences, it's almost like you just have different versions of yourself that are unhealed, coming up with all these different emotions. And taking it back into NLP, every experience in our lives that has a high emotional intensity has been stored. That version of ourselves that experienced that event has been stored inside of us. So it's not only the version of yourself that experienced trauma or that experienced pain or any unresourceful emotion. It's just any high intensity. Remember, we receive information from the universe, and all this information has got no meaning. And a lot of the information that we receive, we delete. We never focus on, we never even process. But the ones that get stored in our unconscious mind are the ones with a high emotional intensity. And that inner roommate is the unconscious mind. And I always explain it in this way, that your unconscious mind, your conscious mind is in charge of your unconscious mind, because your unconscious mind is only active until the age of 6, 7, that around there. And so all those experiences, positive or negative, are there. Those are different versions of yourself will show up in certain moments. And hence, that's why in NLP, when we unpack to find out what is the root, where's the root of this event, we're able to find out, okay, fine, this event, when's the earliest time that you experienced this feeling? And we're able to unconsciously go back to a time in your life that you experienced it. Now, there are also emotions that are passed on genetically. So we could, that's why now with NLP, we're able to deal with emotions of high intensity in the womb, past lives, generational, etc., etc., etc. So I hope I've answered you there. It'll be it'll be from that young version of yourself that experienced that now shows up and so forth.
Yes, you have. Actually, now I actually understand what it meant, because then in the book it was talking about that your experiences are your normal, regardless of the extent of fear is your current normal. Or so my understanding now is that whatever you experience becomes your new normal. If maybe, for example, love, I've only known this kind of love, that is my normal. That is what I expect when love comes. But if I experience a deeper type of love, that will be my new normal, because then my brain would have recorded that. So I think it's probably relating to growth in every area, even in terms of pain. Like now resilience comes in to the level that I've known, but then if it's brand new, it will be shaky, but it will become a new normal. So thank you for that explanation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then linking it to the communication model. Remember, in NLP, we say the map is not the territory. So the map is your map of life, your map of who you are. A map is a representation. A map of South Africa is not South Africa. It's a representation of South Africa. So a map of who you think you are, a map of what you think your life is or is supposed to be, is not your life. It's not who you are. It's just a representation of you. And we increase or we expand our map of who we are the more we learn about ourselves, the more experiences that we have. And I guess that's your threshold will expand based on your experiences and the types of experiences that you create in terms of, and that's it. And by the way, you can expand your experiences by simply going into those experiences in here, so that when you go, you are able to then. So some of us expand some of these emotions, who we are in here. So become aware of what your internal voice is saying. Become aware of the movies that you are playing, because many of us are playing 3D movies and we are lost in those 3D movies. Can you imagine going to the cinema and the movie, you'll not be able to get out of it. Some of us are in those movies. Simply become aware, because with awareness, can you start changing? Thank you so much. I hope we've answered all your questions. And even those of you who are watching this in the recording, please type in the questions that you might have. If you want me to come and address them, maybe before we start, type in the questions in the comments, and look forward to seeing you on the next session. I still need to go back and read it again and see what comes up this time. But yeah, so exciting what we are developing. But I'm just really interested by what, Dr. Mongezi introduced, this ring of energy that he started seeing as he was starting to expand and connect to that version of himself, which is then, because that's where we're now moving into energies as we go into chapter 5. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for your participations. Remember, we all grow together from your participations. Please join in 2 weeks' time on Thursday at 7 p.m. as we unpack the journey beyond self. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Coach. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Batum, is this what I'm missing? My goodness. I'll go back to the recordings, Coach Tabi. So thank you. It's powerful.
Thank you.